Hello folks, Jeff Susich here from Waikato Consulting. I taught my Flow Bootcamp class last week, and we had a lot of discussion around using lookup components in ScreenFlows because it's gotten kind of complicated. There's three options for this. What are the implications of picking one of them? How do you decide? So I thought I'd do a little bit of a video here, and let's go through this. So using lookups in ScreenFlows, you got three options here. The oldest one that's been in there for a long time is the standard lookup component, this little guy that you add to flows. You reference an actual lookup, standard or custom, in the org, not a master detail relationship. You basically reference any actual lookup in the org. You pick the same object that you want to be looking up in the flow. Caution, this will inherit any filters. If that lookup in the org has filters on it, they're going to be applied in the flow. This can also be set to allow multiple selections. So that's the standard lookup component. Then we have the choice lookup component. Looks like that you add to the screen flow. You create the lookup. You set the name and the object, and filters can be added to the lookup right in the choice lookup component itself. This can be set to allow multiple selections also. The third option is the dynamic form lookup. You're on that Fields tab in the org, and my advice on this one, don't use it yet. Salesforce will merge functionality between this and the choice lookup going forward. So let's first talk about the standard component. Here it is. You reference an existing lookup in the org to the same object you want to use. Example, we want a user lookup in the flow. We can use the created by ID user lookup on any object. That's on every object. And you can reference any one you wish. Now, if there are any filters on the lookup that you reference, the filters will be active in the flow. Danger. If someone adds filters to the lookup in the org after you build the flow lookup is going to use those filters. If you want to be certain no filters are applied to the flow lookup, use a choice lookup instead of the standard lookup component. Okay, when you create the standard lookup component, there are two required fields. One, the field API name. That's the name of an actual lookup to the object you want to look up. The actual API name of the field in the org. The object API name is the object where the actual lookup is located. For instance, if I want a lookup component to the opportunity object, the object API name would be opportunity. Note that any filters on the reference lookup will be active here. So if our challenge is to create a lookup on a screen flow to the account object, we can reference any existing standard or custom lookup to the account object in the org. Given that Salesforce is an account-centric CRM system, we got account lookups all over the place. Opportunity, asset, contact, other ones. We can use any of those. So let's now complete our challenge. We're going to create a lookup on a screen flow to the account object. And we're going to use the standard lookup component. Okay, here we are in our org. I'm going to get a lookup component, the standard lookup component. There it is. API name, I can put anything I want on this. This is named by us. I would use some kind of descriptive API name, of course, but we can do whatever we want to do there. Now the field API name, here's where we have to reference an actual lookup in the org. Now, we want to look up to the account object. I could reference the account lookup on the opportunity object, the contact object, the asset object, any of those. They're all account ID. Just like that. The label of this, we can call this anything we want to call this thing. I'm just going to call this the standard lookup. And then the object API name, I could pick opportunity, asset, contact. I'm going to pick contact on here. And select done. All right. I'm going to save this thing. I'll call this lookup test. And save it. I'm going to run it. Let's run this and have a look at it. There it goes. I click into here. And what it's doing here is it's using the recent accounts. These are the same recent accounts that if you went into the org and clicked on the accounts tab and you saw the recent accounts, this is that right there. So I could pick one of these and put it in here. I didn't say pick multiple values on here. If I did, they'd be stacked up underneath there. We'll talk about that in another video because that gets a little more complicated. So that's using a standard lookup on a ScreenFlow. So next we're going to use the choice lookup component. So this is a newer option, supports a filtered set of records right within the flow, or not. Use this option for your lookup if you want to be certain that filters will or will not be applied by the lookup. If you use the standard lookup component, you build the flow. Then a couple months later, someone goes in and adds filters to that lookup in the org, wherever that field is. Those filters are going to be applied in your flows. Keep that in mind. So we're going to go ahead and go in the org now, and we're going to do the same thing really that we did in the last exercise. We're going to create a lookup to the account object, but we're going to use a choice lookup this time. So let's go to the org and do this. All right, here we are in our ScreenFlow. I'm going to select a choice lookup. I'll give the label of choice lookup to account on here. API name auto-populates. We could require it if we wanted to. We'll do a placeholder text. I'm going to say pick one. Here, you'll see where that's used. It's help for the user. We could let the user select multiple options here. And here's the difference between the choice lookup and the standard lookup. Standard lookup references an existing lookup. This we create it. We click in here, plus new choice resource. Resource type is record choice set. It's a record. It's a lookup. We're going to call this the var choice lookup. And the object is going to be the account object. Now here's where we could filter the account records if we wished to. I'm not going to filter them here. I'm going to say none, get them all. We could sort them if we wish to. We could set the maximum number of choices if we wish to, if we're going to let them select multiple values. Choice label, I'm going to use the account name. That's what they're used to looking at. Data type is text. Choice value is what is Salesforce going to save in the database for me to reference what they picked here. And in Salesforce, it's a good idea to generally use the ID. That's a unique value. We can store more account field values if we wished to. I'm going to select done here. I'm going to click outside here. And then I'm going to select done. And we're going to save it. And then let's run this and see what it looks like. Okay, there's the pick one that I put in there, the placeholder. I'm going to click into this and you're going to see that these aren't filtered. There's no filters on here because we didn't ask for them, though we could have done that. And that's the general difference. So the general difference between the two is the standard lookup, you are referencing an existing lookup, and the choice lookup, you are creating it. So here's a summary of what we did. Standard lookup component, easiest to use. Referencing an existing lookup in the org to the same object you want to use. But any filters on the reference lookup will apply in the flow also. Choice lookup component allows a default placeholder text to help the user sorting and filtering within the choice lookup component itself. If you need filtering on the records, use the choice lookup. Better way to go. So I teach a live hands-on 3-day flow boot camp course. We build 28 flows the first 2 days, and you get materials that have all the slides and all the exercises, mouse click by mouse click, and you build them in a fresh dev org. On the last day, I give the students 10 business requirements, and they build the flows on their own. I give them time to do it, and then we go through the solutions. It's the students' favorite part of the class generally. So to get more information on this course or to register, go to www.waikatoconsulting.com. Thanks for watching the video. Hope it helped you.